I thought that I'd make a short video at the beginning of this tutorial showing you the equipment that we're going to be using. So I've got a Raspberry Pi 02 here, and then attached to that is a Raspberry Pi camera with a fisheye lens. As you can see, that's a fisheye lens to take our hemispheric photographs. One thing to note is that if you're buying this camera, it'll come with a ribbon cable like this, which is for a normal sort of Pi 3 or Pi 4, and you'll need to purchase one that has a narrower neck like that. They're only a few pounds, so it can connect to your Raspberry Pi. So that's the Raspberry Pi and camera. Now, the second, possibly most important thing, apart from the actual Raspberry Pi, is this Witty Pi 3 Rev 2 board. So it's got a real-time clock on board that's powered by a CR2032 battery. It's got general power management features and pass-through for the GPIO. So I'll be powering it over USB-C, but if you want to use something like a lead-acid battery, you can plug it into there, and then it can take a power source up to 28 volts, and then it's got a simple on-off button there. And then the next thing we're using is one of these. Now, what you've got to make sure when you buy this is that it comes with this little clicker here. These boards are so generic, this should be labelled, but it's not. Sorry. But this basically turns it between always on mode and sort of a standby mode. So we need the always on mode for this tutorial. So if we click it down position is the always on, and then press the side button here. Come on, there you go. The LEDs will come on and they won't turn off, which effectively means it's going to constantly output power, which is exactly what we need it to do. We'll put that down for a second. And then the other thing we've got over here is just a fairly standard, quite an old one. I've had it for a few years, so it's probably not running at maximum capacity anymore, but it's just a 20,000 milliamp hour Orky battery pack. It's got the on-off button there and fairly standard inputs and outputs. So we've got that, and that's pretty much all you need. I'm going to show you how I'm going to build the housing for it in a separate video, but this is what we need to get it all running and test it and set it up. Now, so it'll be powered like this. So the Witty Pi 3 board just pops on top of it like so. Let's get a nice firm fit, and then we'll take this thing, plug in USB power here, and already we can see that like this it will turn on. So the flashing of the cameras come on, and you can see the Raspberry Pi's LED. So that's powered on now. And then in order for our little 18650 battery shield thing to keep working, basically give it a much longer life, we then attach the battery bank. Sorry, it's a mess at the moment, isn't it? To the batteries. And then I've tested this, and this setup gives me about 4 days worth of power. I'm using fairly old, not particularly high capacity Samsung 2025R 18650 cells. They're a good battery, but yeah, these ones are pretty old, and I think there's one by Panasonic that's got, I think they're 3600 milliamp hours, so you could use them and you'd get more power. And again, these power banks come in larger capacities, so I'm sure you could get more power out of it if you just use more batteries effectively, and better batteries. But that's effectively it for now. This will then just move on to the tutorial of getting all the software set up for it.
So in this video I'm going to show you how to set up your Raspberry Pi for hemispheric photography. So the first thing to note is I am using PuTTY, and I'm accessing my Pi over SSH because I couldn't find, because I'm using a Pi 0 and I couldn't find an HDMI cable that would fit, because it uses a different one to the Pi 4 and a different one to the usual one. I'm not sure what it's called. But anyway, so the first thing we need to do is we are going to make our script that will turn our Pi on. So if we're in the home directory now, so if we just type sudo nano, and we're going to call it camera, well, that's spelled wrong, camera start.py, and that should open a nano, which is a text editor, and then hopefully you'll be able to see at the bottom of this video in the comments that there's a link to the tutorial that I wrote, so we can follow on from there as well. So I'm going to copy and paste across from the tutorial the Python program that I'm going to call camera start, and I'm going to copy it into Nano as like that. The first thing to note probably is that it's going to take photos and store them in the HomePi pictures directory. That's just your general pictures directory. You could install it, you could change that, especially if you were wanting to put it on a USB stick and then just be able to take the USB stick out of the camera unit. But because the USB effectively requires power, I think we're just going to go with saving it on the SD card for now, and I would just have to take the SD card out and take the pictures off it manually like that back at home. I'm actually thinking I'm going to have 2 SD cards, so just take one out, plug the other one in, 2 basically with the same operating system. Then we're going to come down a bit lower, and around here, this is basically saying that the picture type will be a JPEG, and the name will be the time, day, month and year. That's important for when we come to do our image analysis later on. So just that is important really. And then this is just setting the camera resolution. Anyway, so we've done that, so we can do Control X and then we'll save it. Yes, like that. So now we've done that. Now we need to make sure that this file is executable. So we should go to sudo chmod +x camera start.py. And then just to check that this is all working, if we just list it ls, and then we'll see that it's flashed up green there. If it's not green, if it's I think it would be white normally if it wasn't executable. It means if it's white, it's not executable, and it needs to be executable so we can run it. Now we need to make sure that it will run on boot. So if we go sudo nano /etc/profile, and then we get to this bunch of stuff, and then at the bottom we want to, so where am I want to get down to the bottom, and then I want to do sudo python /home/pi /camera start.py, and then at the end we're adding the ampersand, because the program is going to be running on a loop. If you don't have the ampersand, it'll just run once and then quit out of it. And obviously we want it to turn on, take photos, and just continuously whilst it's on, and then it will shut down again. Yeah, and we'll save that. Yes, and then I suppose it's best to do a reboot. And now I will reboot it. So now we're back to logging on, and if all has worked well, we will see now. So we should say it should say picture taken every 100 seconds. Now this error message has come up. I know why. It's because I failed to follow my own walkthrough. But this can also mean that your camera's not seated properly, and I did have this problem before where I just hadn't seated the camera properly as well. So you need to make sure it's not your camera. But in this instance, it's because we haven't enabled the camera in the Raspberry Pi menu. So we go sudo raspi-config, and then is it display options? No, it's not display options. Interface options must be. Yeah, enable legacy camera, and then we will enable that. Yep, that's all good. And then it will make us reboot again. Yes, I do want to reboot. Right, now we're back again. Hopefully this time, if I've typed my password correctly, it should say picture taken. Yeah, and that means it's taken a picture. Obviously, that's what it means. It's unlikely to mean, I don't know, it's exploded, is it? And then just to check that it has in fact stored the pictures somewhere, we can go to CD. So we change directory home/pi/ pictures. So we're now in the pictures directory, and then we'll list them. And then as you can see, it's taken these pictures. So yeah, there you've got the so it's March, yeah. So sorry, I get confused as to which way around the dates are, because you know the Americans do their dates differently, don't they? And it's annoying. So yeah, 22nd of March, 22nd of March, and the 4th day of March, and then that's the time. So it is 10:38 and 7 seconds when that one was taken. So now we'll pop back into the home directory, and we can reboot it now. We can reboot it, and what we'll need to do now is we'll need to, actually we don't need to reboot it because I've already rebooted it, so we're not going to reboot it. We're going to set up the Witty Pi, and we're going to, first of all, we're going to find their software. Their manual's linked to, but this is where you get their software from. So we should download that. Shouldn't take very long, and we're taking more pictures, which is interesting and fine. It just shows that it's still working. And then we need to install what we've just downloaded, which is called install.h install.sh. So sudo sh install.sh, and it is doing its thing. Lots of things. There you go, all redone. Now we can reboot the Pi. Sudo reboot. And then we will come back. Oh, I don't know what I've done there. Right, now we're back. We can log in. And we're back and logged in. So now what we need to do is we need to make our custom startup script. So we need to get, first of all, we need to get into the well, the WittyPi schedules folder. So we do cd home pi WittyPi /schedules. I'm going to spell schedules, SCH. No, not S, schedules. Right, so now we're in there. Now we need to make our startup script, and it's got to have a WPI extension so that WittyPi can recognize it as a startup script. So we get back into Nano, and we will make our thing, and we're going to call it photos. That's going to be the name of our schedule script. So photos, sudo nano photos.wpi. And now, so now we can you can go ahead and make your own. The walkthrough will have a link to UU Gear, who's the company who makes WittyPi, to their software, their utility, that is sort of a browser utility that allows you to make your own. Now, because I'm in the UK and very close, well, not that, they're southeast, I'm southeast. I think they're in Kent, I think, and I'm in, where am I? West Sussex is where I am. I thought that for me, the light is likely to be very similar to where Wilkinson, Bell and Morrison conducted their experiment. So I want a startup script that will turn on for 5 minutes and take some photos at 7 a.m, 7:30, 9 a.m, 9:30, 12, 12:30, 4 and 4:30. So you can always make your own if you're in a different place. I don't know, if you're in the far north, you'd want it so it's I think it can take relatively okay pictures at night, but not really. But you know, if you're in the far north in the winter, you're not going to be getting many pictures, so you'd really just want it on as soon as the light comes on. You know, you'd have to figure it out based on your location, as I suppose someone who was equatorial would. But in this instance, I'm just going to use mine, which is provided, and there you go. I've pasted it in, and then we can just save that. What else? Yep. So we'll just save that. Control X. Yes. Yes. Saved. So now we're going to shut it down. Shut the computer down, shut the Raspberry Pi down, and then we're going to plop our little WittyPi board on top. Make sure when you do that, after you've plugged your WittyPi board back in, that you plug your power input into the WittyPi and not into the Raspberry Pi. I think you can do some damage if you plug it into the Raspberry Pi, although I haven't tried that. So what am I trying to do? I don't know. I'm not trying to do that. I'm just trying to shut it down. So sudo shutdown each now. There we are. Now we've shut it down, and okay, so now we've booted it back up after that shutdown. Once the board's plugged on, the WittyPi board's plugged onto your Pi, you have to use the little, there's a little black button that you can turn it on and off with, so that it doesn't just turn on automatically once you plug in the power, so you need to hit that. So now we need to run the WittyPi program and set up our schedule script or turn it on. So we go cd home /pi/witty pi. There we are. Now we're in the witty pi directory, and then we will run the witty pi program. So sudo /wittypi.sh, and there we go. Now we're into it. So the first thing to note is, well, my real-time clock is the same as my system time, but if it's not, you want to go to you want to write your system time to your real-time clock. So we'll just do that anyway. So we type 1, press enter, and it's done. And now we want to schedule our startup script. So we go to 6 to choose our startup script. And then which one do we want to use? Well, we want to use photos.wpi. So we select 6 again. Now you can see that, that's interesting. Why is it 11:05? Something's happened with shits. Right, sorry about that. I was just wondering why on earth it's at 11:05, and then I've just realised exactly why it is. It's because it's the startup time, the begin time for the schedule, because again I've got confused with American dates, European dates, is set for summer. So it thinks we're starting in the summer, or we started the scripts in the summer, and we are in the winter still, and so it's adjusted for daylight saving time. So because this should be next startup at 12:05, and then next shutdown at 12:05 rather, and next startup at 11:30, whereas that should be 12:30. So we'll have to edit the file again. So where are we? cd home pi. No, it's, where is it? It's in the schedule somewhere. cd home pi /schedules. Is that it? Yeah, there we go. We'll just see if it's there. List them all, and yeah, there's our photos in there. So we will go then sudo nano photos.wpi, and we shall change this so it's, because I thought that was the 1st of January. It's not the 1st of January, so we'll just do 0101. That way we can't go wrong. That way we know 100% that's starting on the 1st of January at 7 AM. So Control X and then save it. Yes, hit return. Okay, so now we can go back to the witty pi directory, start it up again. Where are we? There we go. Right, now we'll choose our startup script. 6. That need to be redone. Where's photo 6 again? Boom. There you go. Now it's adjusted for British summertime. And then so we can, well actually no, what I'll do first is, instead of just exiting, I will show you in view change other settings. So there are some power settings here which can be used to send a pulse charge to your battery bank to try and keep it on. So if you looked at where is it? The dummy load duration. That's between. So we'll go into it. So yeah, you can set it between 0 and 254. Now I had no luck for this at all with any of my battery banks. It just did not keep them on. The manual recommended trying with 10. I think you should try it if you can, because then you could just use a battery bank and you wouldn't have to use that 18650 shield I suggested for you. And it'd probably be slightly more power efficient, at least if it was a pulsing load of 10, which is I think 10 milliamps, which would just keep it on, because I imagine mine actually draws more than 10 milliamps. Anyway, I couldn't get it to work. You may have more luck. The other thing that is supposed to be quite good, or at least UU Gear recommend, are voltaic battery banks, but I couldn't find any at a price I was willing to pay. They're all like $70 US, and I thought, I'm not so keen on spending that much money. So anyway, we'll set that to 0 again, and then we can exit that. So we've now got out of that, and that's really the end of it. It will we can go ahead and shut down if you want, and then it'll tell you its next shutdown will be at 12:05. So you can always override the schedule script by just turning it on physically on the Witty Pi, because obviously if you're testing it, want to test your batteries, testing it turns on and everything, you don't want to have to wait hours and hours and hours. There are other schedule scripts that turn on a bit more frequently. So if we go back into 6, no, what do you want? No, I'm out of it, aren't I? I would have to go back into it. So we'd have to go back into it and then back into 6 again, and then it has others. So what would be a good quick one? Number 5 on 5 minutes every 20 minutes. That would be quite nice to run that, just to test it's coming on and taking pictures and doing everything as it should before you go to one that has much larger gaps between the startups. Right, anyway, that's it for now. Yeah, thank you very much for